This is where the fun begins.
But we've seen this movie before.
What's Sam Pittman known for?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Is the Arkansas athletic program cursed? But you never know what the loudest mouth in the fan base and his wild band of misfits are going to say.
I have a river of Kool-Aid for basketball.
It's time to step inside the Hawg Pen with your hosts, Razorback Zach and Marcus MC Carlton.
What's up, everybody? It's Razorback Zach with you alongside my broadcast partner, Marcus MC Carlton. And it is our new show, Ithp Overtime. And it's going to start off with the first topic I think everybody wants to talk about, and that is good old NIL. MC, it's a cluster, you know what.
I think that's putting it lightly.
To be sure. For those that don't know exactly what NIL is, kind of explain to them what NIL is.
So the backstory here, this all started back, if you remember, and I'm going way back in the Wayback Machine to kind of set the table on this. This all started with the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit versus the NCAA over video games, jerseys being sold, basically the university making money off of the name, image, and likeness of their athletes, and the athletes not getting any cut of that. So the video game that kind of started this all, that was at the centerpiece of the lawsuit, was, and we're going to go way back here, you're talking on the Sega Genesis, Coach K college basketball, one of my most favorite games I've ever played.
Talk about going old school.
Oh yeah, going old school.
I thought you were going to drop like NCAA basketball, 08 or
no, man. It goes back before that.
Boy,
it goes back before
way
that
back in the time machine, didn't you?
Yeah, I went way back because in that game, to my knowledge, that was the first college game. You'd had a few college games before that, but that was the first one that used image and likeness of real players. So, for instance, this game came out in, I want to say 1995, 96, somewhere around in there. So on Arkansas, it was the previous year's roster, which would have been Corliss, Scotty, Corey Beck, Clint McDaniel, the national title and the national runner-up team. That UCLA team would have been the O'Bannon brothers, Tyus Edney, Toby Bailey, that crew, basically the team that beat Arkansas in the championship in 1995. So Ed O'Bannon, in all his glory, got a class action lawsuit together with a bunch of former athletes, and basically that's why you saw the college football game disappear from PlayStation, Xbox, everything there for, what was it, a decade that we didn't have it?
2014 was the final year, and then it came out this year.
So about the time that lawsuit got settled was when this game went away, and it was due to the name, image, and likeness thing. So fast forward up to when this lawsuit is settled. It's basically saying that college athletes can make money off of their own name, image, and likeness. So in principle, not a bad idea. What it has become is a mutant, unregulated form of that, and it's essentially become pay for play. Some good examples of NIL. I thought Devo Davis was one of the first ones to really take advantage of this because he was selling some of his own merch. One of the things I saw that he had, which was brilliant marketing by his part, was after the Auburn game where he had the big dunk at the end of the game and he kind of put his junk in the dude's face. He had a silhouette of that on a hoodie, and it just said Devo or Devo Slam or something. And I'm sure he sold some of those. And I've seen, he had deals with a bank in Jacksonville, because as you pass through Jacksonville right there on 67, you'd see the big billboard with him, palming two basketballs that says, "Welcome to Devoville." That's what NIL was meant to be. It was not meant to be this deal where you have collectives and you essentially have pay for play, and you're out and you have coaches promising recruits, hey, if you come here, we can secure you this much money in NIL or an estimate of this kind of.
I didn't think the universities could do that. I thought it was
they're not
deals.
Supposed to.
I didn't think the university could touch NIL deals.
They're not touching it, but they are making it, and they may not come right out and say it, but what they're doing is they're making it known and be like, hey man, it could be very prosperous for you if you would come sign with Arkansas. I'm seeing potential for you to have you would probably want to reach out to these businesses when it comes to NIL, because I think you'd be very successful if you reached out to these businesses, because, I mean, there's ways to get around that. You can say it without actually saying it. And that's what's going on. And I mean, even if they do, let's say a coach is out promising it, who's going to regulate this now?
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Is now that you have, because you have, and I will throw him under the bus because he actually makes money. Hunter Yurachek, athletic director, University of Arkansas, begging people to spend $100 of their hard-earned money
every month. Yep.
Every month. But if the university if this is just a business, like local businesses getting involved, like Walmart, Tyson, JB Hunt,
car dealerships, banks,
what have you. Why are we having to pay money to an NIL collective? What is a collective? And why is the university getting involved in all of this? And is this their way of individually regulating, if you will, if that's the words you want to use, NIL for these players? Because look, we all know what happened, what we assume happened last year with the football team. KJ Jefferson get all this NIL money. And his offensive line only getting barbecue sandwiches.
Yeah, I mean, and when NIL first became a thing, I think we even talked about it on the show. One of the questions I threw out is, what's going to happen to your locker room chemistry when you've got a quarterback that's making 5-6 figures of NIL money, and the guys that are protecting him are not making that? One of the best things that I have seen NIL being done the right way was University of Utah. The Utah Utes, their football program. They gave, and I'm trying to remember if it was everybody on scholarship. I think it was everybody on scholarship got a brand new truck. So that came out of their collective. They had a big car dealership mogul in their collective. He gave everybody a new Dodge Ram. You're getting borderline there with the downside of this, but everybody screamed so long, oh man, these players, they need to be paid. They're raking in all this money for the university and they're not seeing anything of it. Be careful what you wish for, because now you've got this monster that has become essentially pay for play. For the older cats in the crowd like me who remember when SMU got the death penalty,
everything's legal now.
Everything SMU was doing is exactly what's happening with NIL right now. You got guys being given cars, cash. I mean, how many different dudes have we seen with national NIL deals for Dr. Pepper and the whole Fansville thing? We saw the quarterback from Alabama that's with the Carolina Panthers now.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young, thank you. You saw him. You saw Quinn Ewers. You're seeing there was another one that was a national that I can't think of now too. But that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be localized, maybe regional at best, to where you have, let's say, JB Hunt. You have a spokesman.
Walmart.
Arkansas has somebody. Walmart would be. Walmart's kind of the exception to the rule because it's regional, but it's also national.
Global. And it's
global. A global. Yeah, it's a global. I mean, that's one that would be bigger than the Dr. Pepper Fansville if they went there, but they haven't gone there yet.
Let's pull in our executive producer from Thursday nights, Jesse, the Beard Thurman. Jesse, what you got, man?
Got two things I want to jump in with here, Zach. First of all, when Nick Saban was coach at Alabama, he owned 6 Mercedes dealerships. So if you played football at the University of Alabama, you drove a brand new Mercedes, and Nick Saban got a tax write-off in the deal.
Yeah.
Wait.
Because you can put them on a lease, and it's,
I didn't think coaches could get in. Again, I didn't think coaches could do that.
Well,
Nick Saban didn't do it.
Yeah.
His auto group did.
I guess. Okay. So all right. I get it.
That's your loophole. Because Nick Saban's name was probably nowhere. His signature was nowhere on it.
Okay. All right. So it was not, Nick Saban Mercedes. It was a Mercedes dealership that he owned.
Right.
Okay.
He was a partner in.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
And where they're getting around on these collectives, I wanted to dive a little further into collectives. My understanding, and MC, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the collective, while hired and ran by the university, is not part of the university.
Correct. Yes, it is.
And what
it
the
is.
collective does is they collect the money and they do autograph signings, photo ops. They'll go and do some community outreach. Real simple, what used to be community service, volunteer work that the players did. Now they're using that as the excuse for, hey, Zach, I want you to come play linebacker for me up here at the University of Arkansas. And our collective told me that they have a slot open for a linebacker that you make 6 appearances a month, and they've got $100,000 with your name on it.
Yep.
And that's what the collective is, and that's where it's blowing up and becoming the wild, wild west.
Okay,
well,
that makes
and
a little bit more sense.
So to bring like a real life situation of Arkansas to that, I saw an advertisement a few weeks ago on social media for a Boogie Flan ball camp for elementary level kids. So it's like a 3-4 hour ordeal on a Saturday, like 8 to noon, something like that. You get, Boogie and a couple of other players to be determined are out. They're running very basic drills with some of these elementary level kids. It'd be about kids that are my kids' age, 9 and 6. They go out, you pay a fee, you get this, and then for you have your camp fee, and then for an additional fee, you can get your picture made with Boogie and get an autographed item. So, you're probably looking at, by the time it's all said and done, you're probably looking at $100, $150 a kid. Okay, they bring 100 kids out. The math adds up quick. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's going out that the school basically puts it all together, but it's run through the collective. So then the school is technically, they can say they're hands off of it, and it's the collective and the athlete working together on this type of event.
You're trying to tell me that there's a lot of loopholes in the NIL.
Well, it's not loopholes. It's just wide open freeway right now because there's nobody to regulate this, because the NCAA has essentially been neutered over the last several lawsuits that they've had. I was at a work conference back in July, and one of the presentations we sit through was it was a guy from the NCAA, former player at Alabama. He played football at Alabama, of all things. Pull your own irony from there, that somebody that played football at Alabama back in the 90s is now working for the NCAA. Dude was a great presenter. He had a lot of great points, but and it was about NCAA. It was about collegiate sports and the future and where it's going. So I sat in on this conference, this session at the conference, and it was really good. And we got to the Q&A session, and somebody asked him, he said, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, he's like, but he said, over the past several months and years, we've seen lawsuits against the NCAA, and the NCAA has come out on the short end of them every time. He's like, is there a lawsuit that we've missed that have maybe not been publicized that the NCAA has come out on the top side of? And the guy sat there for a minute. He's like, no, he's like, we're really struggling right now. He said, we haven't won a lawsuit. And it was like, he named off like 6 or 8 in a row that went all the way back to the O'Bannon decision. And it was just different things between, one that comes to mind was the Northwestern, when they sued the NCAA for the right to unionize. You had that one, you had Dartmouth, you had the O'Bannon case, there were a couple others. And so the NCAA, they can sit there and say, hey, we're going to punish you because you cheated and you broke this rule. And just like with Tennessee, there was an issue with Tennessee that's come out within the last year of they were going to face sanctions.
Because of the McDonald's bag deal?
Well, I don't remember what it was tied to. It was something, they had broke some recruiting rules or something. They appealed it, took it to court, and they won their appeal. So, I mean, they walk away flying the double birds at the NCAA, and now you're to the point where, how do you cheat now? Because everything is on the table with recruiting. Used to, it was duffel bags of money under a bridge somewhere that
or
you
McDonald's
were getting.
Bags.
Yeah, or like in the movie Blue Chips, you're buying the family a tractor that they need for their farm or something like that. nothing is off the table now, because with these collectives in their current condition and NIL in its current condition, you can do anything, and it's ruining the sport. Okay. And I'm not against players getting a little something on the side, but when it gets to the point to where you have the UNLV quarterback, you have the defensive lineman from USC, and now you have another defensive player from Washington, all these guys coming up and saying right here 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season, I'm done. I'm shutting it down. I'm going to redshirt because my NIL demands were not met. That's crap.
Well, we're going to get into that here in a few minutes anyway, but and again, I'm not, look, at the end of the day, I'm not against players getting paid either. But when and now he's the starter, but when originally a backup is making $2.2 million in NIL money, and a starting quarterback that took his team to the Super Bowl as like a rookie, I think he was a rookie quarterback at the time. Brock Purdy for the San Francisco 49ers. $850,000 a year.
He's making like the league minimum. Yeah.
League minimum. There has to be, you got to make it a cap on this NIL. You have somehow, some way, there's got to be a cap on these, because now that's one of the reasons why Nick Saban got out of coaching. And that's why you don't see these old school coaches getting in here. MC, we're going to pitch it back to our EP. He's got something he wants to add to us. Jesse, what you got, buddy?
MC, do you remember the days when it was a big deal because parents got jobs at local business establishments and the kids magically decided to go to school there?
So let's go back in the Wayback Machine a little bit to the time when Mike Anderson was the basketball coach here at Arkansas. And you had a recruit from just down the road from me in Lepanto, Arkansas, East Poinsett County High School. And mama gets a job up in Northwest Arkansas. He transfers to Bentonville. And then all of a sudden, it's looking like, oh, okay. He goes on Bentonville. He's a 5-star recruit. Tucky swoops in at the last minute, pulls him away.
He just got inducted into the Bentonville Hall of Honor or whatever it was the other night.
I wonder
Coach
who
Kyle
you
was there for
talking
it.
about.
Yeah. And it was, and it was, so it was completely coincidental, unrelated that mama got that job. Okay. Don't, as my grandpa used to say, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. It's
okay. So
I don't believe in coincidences anymore.
Okay, good.
I don't believe in coincidences anymore, and I sure don't believe in them when it comes to recruiting for college sports. But yeah, you have that. You have the Cam Newton situation where there was $180,000 donation to his dad's church. Eric Dickerson told a story. I don't know if he told this at the Little Rock Touchdown Club when he was there recently, but he told it on the 30 for 30 on SMU. Texas A&M bought him a brand new Trans Am with the understanding that he was going to sign with Texas A&M. He kept the Trans Am, ended up signing it SMU, because what are they going to do? Who are they going to report it to? That's almost a situation we're in right now, as to where there's no regulation around this. And Arch Manning, like you were talking about, Zach, having a 7-figure NIL deal before he set foot on the field at Texas. It's insane.
Well, and I think too, and again, we're going to jump into the UNLV thing, and we're also going to kind of discuss what Hunter, where today where Hunter Yurachek stands.
I got thoughts on Hunter Yurachek too,
because it seems to me like he's switching sides every day, but I think Arch Manning, now he's shut me up in the last 2 weeks. I'll give you that.
I mean, he has looked good. I'll give him that. He's looked really good.
But he got that 7-figure deal because of who he is.
Yeah, it's because of his name, 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, something you said earlier, Zach, and I want to counter argue it. You said there's got to be a cap.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put a cap on NIL.
Why not?
Because that NIL in its true meaning is name, image, and likeness. We don't tell NFL players that they can't go sign a $100 million endorsement deal. But what
Well-
you've got to do is you've got to regulate it to where it's true NIL, because true NIL is the greatest thing that ever happened to college sports. It's the lack of regulation that has ruined college sports at the same time.
Well, but what I mean by that
That's
is
a fair statement. Yeah.
okay, in these contracts if you're gonna compare the two, which I get you in all honesty, you can't. But since we're in that, since you made that, NFL contracts have baseline contracts, right? Okay, so you're gonna make
Here's the thing, Zach. This has nothing to do with contracts. This is endorsements. It's completely separate. There is no limit on endorsements in professional sports.
I'm just saying.
See your point, but you're
it
arguing
goes-
apples and oranges.
Well, yeah, but my issue is if you've got a quarterback like one KJ Jefferson who's making all of this money, but your offensive line's only getting barbecue sandwiches or getting large fries from McDonald's, okay, well, I'm not getting paid enough in NIL deals. I'm not going to protect my quarterback. Now, granted, he had a little bit of an attitude about him, but if let's take the three big ones here in Arkansas: JB Hunt, Tyson, and Walmart. Okay, let's say you get $500,000 from each of those, okay, or whatever, and it adds up to $1.5 million. All right, that's fine because you're getting it's three different ones, but you're getting $500,000 from each of them. Okay, there has to be. I mean, but again, what are you going to regulate? How are you going to regulate that? If there can't be a baseline, there has to be something. And I'm not trying to jump off in the equality for everybody type thing.
The equity thing.
Equity thing. I'm not. This has got nothing to do with that. But because wide receivers in the NFL don't make money, don't make quarterback money. All right, linemen don't make running back money. I get that. I understand that. I'm not stupid most of the time. But you help me understand, because you go to Alabama and you get all this money. You go to Texas, you get all this money. You go to Ole Miss, you get all this money, plus some because you're Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's down there. There has to be a way that and we'll just take Arkansas, for example. Arkansas's got the biggest, largest retailer in the world, headquartered not 15 miles from their campus.
Yeah. They're not football fans, though, or not Arkansas football fans. They own the Broncos now, but I think that's where any, what's it called when you have basically money to burn.
Okay, but explain
their money to burn. It goes to Denver.
But explain something
ironically
to me. Okay, explain this to me, Mr. Basketball Man.
I'll try.
John Tyson can walk into the University of Kentucky and go, "Hey, John, come coach at Arkansas. I'll give you $30 million in NIL money." And you sign a Hall of Fame coach.
Mm-hmm.
But the head of Walmart can't walk into, I don't know who you're going to get for football, but.
Well, but the difference being
they're
John
Australian.
Tyson,
they like rugby. The CEOs are Australian.
Yeah. The difference being John Tyson is a hoops guy. And let's not downplay the fact John Tyson and John Calipari have been friends for apparently a long time.
Take that off the table, though, MC. Take that friendship off the table, and I get that played a
then
huge...
it goes to Tyson being a fan.
But again, I get their friendship goes a long way, and it went a long way in getting Calipari here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when are you going to make that? Because look at baseball. Look at baseball. You don't hear of NIL. I don't. And they're consistently, sometimes a game or two away from going to Omaha every year.
Right.
Baseball's going to win, but you don't hear about NILs and that.
Well, and I find
you don't hear anybody from the baseball side of things begging for money.
And baseball does. My understanding is baseball's not in on the whole Edge NIL collective. Baseball's doing their own thing.
But you don't hear them. But still, you don't hear them begging for money. You don't hear the track team begging for money.
Well, I mean, No disrespect, but who's going to give their NIL money to track?
But again, well, when they're winning national titles, I mean, we've got the best athletes in the world.
But I mean, it's still track, man.
But you get my point, though.
Yeah,
you don't hear softball. You don't hear this. You don't hear the softball team. Okay, you don't hear the women's basketball team.
Which that's a whole other pod right there, man.
We're gonna bring Savage in on that one. But why is football such a hard? Why the difficulty around the football team? What is it about our football team that you can't get NIL money for? Whether it's through the collective or whether it's whatever the reason.
The short answer for this is after let's take the last decade of football. Nobody has faith in it.
That would be
That'd be back to the start of Bielema. Back to the start of Bielema, basically.
So that'd be 13.
Yeah. Nobody's got faith in what they're seeing on the field. So most people are not going to invest in it because it's a chicken egg scenario. What happens first? Do you get the NIL money and then you go buy all the players, or do you get good and then you get the NIL money to maintain being good? That's the big argument right now, and that's why you're seeing such the push to the NIL edge of the $100 a month or whatever, and you're seeing a lot of myself and a few other fans on social media take it as blaming of the fans for football sucking.
Why is it okay? I'm going to ask this because now this is a future pod we can get into. Now that you brought that up.
Well, and so it goes to the whole thing of if the base of it is, well, if you guys would give more money to NIL, we'd have more money available to go recruit better players.
Well, okay, but if you want to blame the fans, let me ask you this: MC, were you in Dallas? Did you fumble the ball?
I didn't throw a pick. I didn't fumble anything.
Did you miss a tackle? Did you miss a block? Because I might have missed a kick, but I don't remember it.
I mean, yeah, I have a huge problem with what we've seen, and I feel like to an extent some of that has come from Hunter Yurchek. Maybe I've taken his comments out of context.
Let's talk about his comments because this kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
he basically comes out and he says being an athletic director during NIL sucks.
Yeah, and that's how bluntly he put it.
And he was asked by David Basil at the Little Rock Touchdown Club. What's it
who
like
is never going to put a question out there that is going. He's not the type of guy who's going to ask a question to set somebody up. He's soft toss. He is, the easiest questions possible. That's what he's going to throw at Yurchek or anybody affiliated with the university.
And he comes out and this was at the Little Rock Touchdown at Hunter Yurchek's appearance at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, like he does every year. David Basil says, what's it like being an athletic director in the NIL era? And he said, and Hunter Yurchek said, and I quote, "It sucks."
Yeah, it's terrible. Yep.
It's terrible. And then he goes on and says, if 10,000 households in Arkansas could give $100 a month to the NIL.
Yeah, we'd be a lot more competitive.
So
to me, that comes across as, well, you know what? Damn you people, you're not giving enough money for this, so we can't be competitive because you're not going to free up money to give us. You want us to be good, but you don't want to pay for us to be good.
So MC, I got to ask you a question. All right.
Bring it.
He's wanting 10,000 households to donate $100.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A month. Yeah, $1,200 a year.
And you have a wife, right? Correct?
Yeah, I have a full family. I got two kids.
Two kids. Okay. Your grocery bill is kind of expensive because you got you got two growing boys, and I've seen the video of them playing football, and that was a hell of a hit, by the way. Okay, that even hurt me watching it. And your boys are what, 8, 9, 10 years old?
9 and 6.
Yeah, and they're hitting like that, dude. I don't even want to suit up and play them. But your grocery bill is kind of expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. Phil,
not
what
getting
kind of
any
car
cheaper for sure.
Yeah. What kind of car do you drive?
I mean, just GMC SUV. Nothing middle of the road. Nothing, nothing fancy.
Same thing. It costs me about $40 every couple of weeks. 40, $50.
40 to 50. Yep.
Yeah, give or take. Okay. And I drive a 2021 RAV4. All right. Now I live by myself, but what I used to be able to go in and get $50 worth of a week's worth of groceries for $50. I can't even buy a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk for that kind of money anymore.
And
So
we're supposed to find an extra $100 a month.
And I'm supposed to find $100 a month to give to a university whose best record in the last, on average, is 4-8.
Yeah, I mean, you've had more losing seasons than winning.
And it's my fault that you can't, that your coaching staff, the people that Hunter Yurachek hired, can't recruit good, decent players to come play for the University of Arkansas.
Well, and I mean, having a number
fired up too, MC. Don't feel bad.
Having a number in mind, money wise, is the base on recruiting now, because you can go in and you can make the best pitch in the world, and the kid can be ready to commit, and then he gets a phone call the next day. Let's say Arkansas goes and gets a verbal commitment from a quarterback in Texas. Okay, Texas high school football is known for being outstanding. Say you go get the number 1 rated quarterback in Texas to verbally commit, say, I'm coming to Arkansas. He gets a call the very next day from somebody with the collective for UT in Austin. They say, hey, you're committed to Arkansas. I see that, but if you want to, you'll come over to Austin. I mean, we got a 7-figure NIL deal for you. Not to mention, we can probably hook you up with a leased Ferrari. I mean, what's that kid going to do? I know what I would have done at 18 years old. I'm taking the money. Maybe not for Texas, the money. But
let's. I mean, and then he comes out a few days later. I can't remember.
It was shortly after.
On a prominent Northwest Arkansas radio show, and again, just changes his stance on it.
And that was some damage control, because he got a lot of heat for his comments that he made about NIL at the Little Rock Touchdown Club. And some of it came from me, because my immediate thought when I heard that statement, because I know the backstory with his feelings on NIL. He has not been a fan of NIL from day one. He's been very vocal about it. And I understand it. But in that position, when you're the athletic director, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I'm not any kind of expert, but in my opinion, what you say publicly about NIL and what you say privately don't have to be the same thing. You can put on a good face. You can be the politician when you're out in public, and you can find a way to say good things about NIL without completely selling out and making people, you want to give the illusion that, hey, well, it may not be my cup of tea, but this is here. We've got to deal with it. We've got to figure out how to make it work. You can't go out and say, it's terrible being an AD in the age of NIL. It sucks. Because I guarantee you that has been retweeted, favorited, tagged to recruits that Arkansas is battling for with Ole Miss. Let's just take them, for instance. I guarantee you Keith Carter has made sure that Hunter Yurachek's statements on NIL have gotten out and gotten around to anybody and everybody that might be considering Arkansas versus Ole Miss. You cannot make that kind of a public statement. If I'm the PR guy, I am like face palming when he says that, because I understand that's how you feel, because I'm not fully on board with NIL either. But it's here. It's not going away. You have to find the way to embrace it. And you have to sound enthusiastic about embracing it, whether you feel that way or not. That's why you make 1.25 or whatever it is he's worked himself up to now in raises.
Yeah. Let's bring our EP.
8.7 million since he took the AD job at the University of Arkansas.
Yeah, that's what he's up to.
My whole thing is, and by the way, we're pulling Jesse the Beard in. He's our EP for Thursday nights. My whole thing is, you can look, we've had conversations off air. Now, I'm not going into any deeper than that. We've had conversations on air, and then our opinion is on air is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But there has to, I mean, you are the face of the athletic department for the University of Arkansas, and you're vice chancellor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You are the face and the head of the athletic department of the University of Arkansas. And you're going to come out and say your job sucks because of NIL, but you want me to give you $100 a month.
Let me throw this at you. So I mentioned I've got the two boys, 9 and 6. I've also got a daughter that's a freshman in college right now. She's not a collegiate athlete, but if she was, and let's say she's being recruited by multiple schools, and you talk to school X over here, and they're all on board with NIL, and they're like, yeah, man, we'll set you up with our collective. We'll help you find deals and stuff. And then you talk to school Y, and school Y has their AD out here in public saying, I hate NIL. It sucks. Okay. For the betterment of my daughter, who would be the college athlete here, I'm going to spend a lot more time talking to college X in recruiting than I am college Y, because if the athletic director of a college that's recruiting my kid is trash talking NIL and how much he hates it, how hard are they going to work with my daughter once she signs on the line? How hard is that collective of that school going to work to help her secure deals?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you've got, and I go back to Keith Carter, because I think he's doing a phenomenal job at Ole Miss right now. And it pains me to say that, but facts are facts. I feel like he's doing a phenomenal job. If it come down to an Ole Miss and Arkansas situation right now, and you're a recruit with a high NIL value, and you can look at different Twitter sites and see, here's the estimated value of this recruit and this recruit. Now, it's football mainly, but you can see it. If my kid has a high estimate, where are you going to go? Are you going to go have your kid sign with a school where even the athletic director doesn't believe in NIL and is very vocal about it? Or are you going to have them lean towards the school that has fully embraced it? And while they may not like it, you're not going to know that publicly because they're not going to say it publicly. Which way are you leaning?
Good point. Very good point. Jesse, what do you got?
Here's a question, MC.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to bring race, religion, politics into it, but just look at it this way. You've got a kid in West Memphis.
Okay.
He gets an NIL offer from Ole Miss and Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid's a 5-star running back.
Okay.
He's going to make more money his freshman year of college than his mama's probably made since he
100%.
was born.
And that factors into it as well.
A lot of these athletes, this is their only way to make it in life.
Yeah.
This is their chance to get out of a bad situation and set them and their families up. So you got to take that into account, because it's not always rich private school kids that are 5-star players.
Yeah. Well, let's put this down on a level that deals right with Arkansas. That situation right there you just described is very similar to the situation that KJ Jefferson had. Coming out of Sardis, Mississippi, he was a 4-star recruit. Mama had a lot of health problems his senior year. I believe she had a stroke, a lot of rehab, things like that. If KJ Jefferson is coming out right now, okay, let's say he is a senior about to be recruited in this class, do you not think he's going to lean heavily towards the school that's promising him the most money, because this is a chance to set his family up for life? Because he could go out and his, and I use KJ because, seeing that situation and knowing the backstory, I feel like that's a prime candidate for this that fits, even though when he was recruited, NIL it hadn't really taken off yet.
Two things. Remember who recruited him, actually.
Yeah. We don't talk about Bruno.
No, I'm kidding. Number 2, way to make me look like a dick, MC, for dogging on KJ now, because now I feel like, damn, now I feel bad.
Well, no,
I didn't know any of that.
No, I mean, it's still, it's still got the thing where it went to his head and everything, and it's all, but he's gone now. But that situation, Jesse, you have that all the time. I guarantee you, there's somebody Arkansas is recruiting right now that is in a situation. I know there are kids that may be coming out of another state, or even inside the state, maybe South Arkansas or something. I don't know. I don't follow recruiting that close, but I guarantee you there is a situation right now where there may be a kid that wants to go to Arkansas and is being recruited by Arkansas. but he's being offered more money to consider going to LSU or Ole Miss or Georgia or wherever. Insert other school here who's offering the big NIL deal. And what choice does he have but to take the NIL deal because of like what you described? He's got a chance to go make more money in 1 year than his parents have probably made in their lifetime.
And here's another factor to that. It used to be the argument of, oh, why are they going pro early? Why don't they stay and finish college? Well, you got the chance to go and make life-changing money. You take it.
Yeah, you take the money.
So few college athletes actually make it to the professional level. The ability to make life-changing money in college.
Yeah.
And granted, a lot of them are going to waste it and blow it, and they're going to end up where they were going to end up anyway. But you've got
some kids are responsible about it. Some kids aren't going to be.
But I mean, you've got a kid it's your sophomore year. You're running down the sideline, and Georgia safety comes up and hits you wrong. Your knee's done. Your pro dreams are over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the pro side of things, and I get that. And maybe I'm being too negative about it, but it's not the fans' fault.
I agree.
It's not, because I'm going to tell you why. When you have a head coach that comes out and says, I want to recruit players that want to play for the name on the front of their jersey, it don't work like that anymore. That's why Nick Saban got out of
that's not it anymore.
That's why Nick Saban got out of the game.
Yeah. Well, and he's not the only legend to step out, because if you flip over to college basketball, how many legendary coaches in the last 2 to 3 years since this NIL thing became in the forefront? You've had Jay Wright at Villanova step down. You had Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski. I mean, that's 3 of the biggest names in college basketball.
Those are blue blood. Well,
yeah.
Those are blue bloods.
Yeah,
I was trying to remember. Jay Wright was
he got a couple titles at Villanova.
Yeah.
So
those are blue bloods. Those are blue bloods. And those coaches are like, no, this is I don't want any part of this.
Krzyzewski and Saban basically on the same level.
Yeah.
In their sport, they're on the same level, and both of those guys, said no. I'm
okay.
Too, they stole the line from Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. I'm too old for this, and
crap.
Decided to walk away.
Okay, all right. I'm not to piss off my baseball peeps. So Jesse, don't drive down here to Benton and kick my butt. But you don't see DVH coming out of the game because of NIL.
I'll tell you why. Okay, baseball is different. Baseball is a rich kid sport. To get noticed and get to college, you've got to play travel ball.
Yeah, that's
those kids. Money's not making or breaking them.
I'm only saying that for devil's advocate purposes, for the argument's sake of things. Okay.
And what DVH is doing is they're treating NIL. They went off on their own. They took their ball. They went home.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing true NIL, because if you notice, the baseball players are advertising local businesses. I see it all the time up here in Northwest Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I went and got Kendall Diggs, Will McIntyre, and Hagen Smith's autograph because they were doing an autograph signing at Gasano's Pizza up here. They're handling it like NIL should be handled.
Yeah.
And they're, again, with their background, the money's not as big a deal because, look, you play good at Arkansas, look at Hagen Smith.
$8 million a year, baby.
Yeah.
But,
and Hagen's not the only one that's been a first round draft pick the last 10 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I get that.
Several.
And I get that, and I'm probably going to get burnt for that comment. And look, okay, fine, I will. All right, I'll take it. The thing about it, though, is it's not about getting to the league anymore. It's not about pride of the university.
No,
it's not about. It's me and getting mine. All right. Mm-hmm. Let's switch over. Okay. So this all ties into look at what happened at UNLV.
Yeah.
Okay. This quarterback, 3-0. His team is undefeated. You're riding high right now. And because you're not getting the money you want at the school you're at, you want to quit and take your ball and go somewhere else. Now, I'm not saying this kid was going to be a first-round quarterback draft pick that goes to the Chiefs or you know.
I don't even know that the kid's
Bills.
going to get drafted. In all honesty,
No, and I'm not saying that he's, I'm not saying he had that potential, or even that he has aspirations to even go to the league. But you don't. You're 3 weeks in, and I'm not making the money that I want. I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Well, and this is the classic he said, she said ordeal, because he said an assistant coach verbally promised him this money to get him on campus.
You get it all in writing.
Yeah, what this goes back to is, now that these players can have NIL deals, they can have agents. Okay, agents used to be taboo back in the day. You've got agents
just ask
now.
Jimmy Sexton.
You've got agents now for these players, and along with that comes with these guys who claim to be agents that may not have all the certifications they need. They may not have any sense in this one case, but they're out. They see these athletes looking for agents as prey, and they go and they prey on these families that have never dealt with this. And from everything I've read on this Matthew Sluka situation, who's the quarterback at UNLV that has stepped away, there was nothing done in writing. The agent, he did not have an agent at first when the promises were allegedly made by the assistant coach. He gets on campus, start looking for the payment. They offer him a payment that's a lot less than what he felt like was agreed to, but there's nothing in writing. Okay, that's agency 101.
Mm-hmm.
Is
always
you get your
get
deals
it
done
and write it. Even if you come in on the backside after those promises were made, you draw up a contract, you take it to whoever promised it and said, "Here, sign this because I want to have guaranteed to cover my own ass."
Yeah, I mean, and then so now every aspect of what used to be, and it never was really amateur sports, because let's face it, college athletes have been getting paid under the table since probably the days of when Bear Bryant and Frank Broyles and Darrell Royal were coaching. Okay, let's not act like everything was innocent back then. But you're to the point now where this is, like you said, Zach, this is no longer about going to play for the school where you feel at home and where you feel welcome. And this is no longer the days of a kid in Arkansas growing up and wanting to be a Razorback just because it's the freaking Razorbacks. Those days are done.
Those days will never happen again.
Now. Everything is a business deal.
Which is why the transfer portal is such a big deal and such a major aspect in collegiate athletics now.
Yeah.
I get it. When hell, I'll go back when I was a kid. Danny Ford, Nolan Richardson, Houston Nutt, okay? Norm DeBryan. I'll even go there, even though I wasn't following baseball when I was 6 years old, which is a failure on my part. But you didn't see transfers being so prime. Now, you had one or two, but back in the day, they had to sit out a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They had to sit out a year.
Yeah.
And you had a limit on how many times you can transfer. Now, you got a kid. Look at the kid from Utah, the Utes, the quarterback.
Oh, Cam Rising.
Started at Florida State, and then he went to Oregon State, and then he went to over here, and then he ended up at Utah, and he can't stay healthy.
I can do you one better than that. Miami has a tight end right now that is in his 7th year of college.
Well,
and I believe he's on his 3rd team.
We as Arkansas fans can't say too much about having a player that's been
nobody
there forever.
Can. Yeah.
We had one, I think he was a defensive back for the longest time. Richardson, I think was his name. He was a defensive back, played 6 years here. But that was for health reasons because he was.
Yeah, he could. Well, Madre Hill played 6 years here.
Madre Hill,
and that was back way before NIL was even thought about. I mean, but you had a red shirt and you had a medical red shirt.
Yeah, and now with COVID, you have an extra COVID year.
Right.
So if you red shirt,
we ought to be able.
COVID year,
we ought to be about to the point where the COVID year thing is about over.
Is about phased over. But at the end of all of this. It's not about playing for pride anymore. It's not even playing to win a national title. It's just how much money can I make?
Well, and how can you have how can you have team chemistry and camaraderie where when your recruiting is based solely off the business deal now, and it's not based off of, I mean, I remember a few years back when, let's say a big time quarterback signs somewhere, or he commits. Let's say he commits. This is before signing day. He verbally commits. Okay, you hear the stories about how that recruit gets on the phone and he starts calling some of the top receiver recruits in the country or some of the top offensive linemen in the country. He's like, "Hey, man, I need you to come with me. I need a good target to throw through." And then he calls the best left tackle in the country and be like, "Hey, man, come with me to Arkansas. I need you protecting my backside. We're putting something special, man. I talked to Jerry Rice's son over here. He's the top wide receiver in Mississippi. He's telling me he's going to commit to Arkansas too. Man, we get him, we get you, dude. We're going to pull this thing together, and we're going to win some ball games." And recruiting's not done that way anymore, man. It's all a business deal, and it's all about the dollar, and it's all about me getting mine. And I understand the situation like what Jesse laid out, where you have a kid that has an opportunity to make more money in 1 year than his parents have seen in his lifetime. I get that, but that's not what college athletics is supposed to be about.
Here's the thing.
And the thing with the NIL is if you find a way to put some regulations around it, and I have an idea of where we're headed with this and how it's going to be regulated, and I'll get into that in just a second, but you have to get some regulations on it in order because otherwise this isn't the current model is not sustainable, and the bubble is going to burst eventually. What were you going to say, Zach?
No, I was just going to pull Jesse in here because Jesse's wanting to say something. He's been itching and I can see.
I'll take a breath so you can say something, Jesse.
We may not release this live stream, but if you guys ever see this, Jesse's over here going. What's up, Jesse?
So I want to go back to the agents real quick.
Okay.
Tommy's brother down the road's uncle's first cousin is not a good agent.
Right. Yes.
We have a running back on our team that got screwed over by a family friend or relative of a family friend.
Yep.
Rodney Hill. He was camped out at Florida State, doing good, wasn't getting much playing time. All of a sudden, coaches get a phone call. "Hey, I got this kid shopping Hill over at my school."
Mm-hmm.
The agent had took it upon himself to go shop this kid to other colleges to get more NIL, to get a bigger percentage cut. And Florida State coaches kicked him off the team, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's how he ended up at Arkansas. Now, I'm glad to have him here on the Hogs. And I think once we get the protection issues figured out, he's going to be a huge asset to us.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
But I want to roll into something else here because we're rolling good and I want to keep it going. We seem to have a gentleman in the state of Arkansas. He runs a little joint down in Pine Bluff, and he's got a model built to bring in thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a week that he's willing to donate to NIL. But, and it depends on who you listen to, what day of the week, and what calendar day of the month it is, that can't happen. I'm talking, of course, about Saracen's 50-50 raffle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to break this down pretty quick, and then we'll comment on it. Everybody's like, well, how's Saracen going to make money off this? How are they going to make money? Well, the rule change he is proposing would allow for online slots and table games through his app. That's where he'll make his money. This is a straight up 50-50 drawing. Winner gets 50% of the pot. The other 50% goes to NIL.
And they get the publicity for looking like, the Superman hero bringing in $1 million a month to NIL.
But if I read
and their logos everywhere on campus.
But if I read it right, it doesn't just benefit University of Arkansas. It's all the colleges across Arkansas.
No, he's willing to do a 50-50 drawing for, he mentioned specifically Arkansas, A-State, UCA. He was on one of the shows that we talked about earlier. He said even somebody from SAU down in Magnolia had contacted him about doing a 50-50 raffle. And he's like, yeah, man, we'll do it for SAU as well.
So a few things. So I've heard a few things, and I don't know if you guys have heard this. So, and edit note: if I name drop somebody and we don't need to name it, you can edit it out.
Okay.
You know, I've heard that there's a proposal being written in the Arkansas legislature right now that Sarah Huckabee Sanders does not like the verbiage in this. Okay, what's the verbiage in this proposal that's going through the legislature, and why can't the public read it? Okay, and I spoke to my dad, who's been a state representative, and until it gets out of committee, it's not made public because it's still in draft status.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that, but if you're doing something, if you're asking the public for money, then release the proposal so we can all read it. And, I don't know if this is a democracy. Vote on the damn thing. But
Well,
then
you open up a different can of worms.
you open up a different can of worms. But then the other side, okay, on a different station, on a different program, on a different, like Jesse said, on a different day, on a different week, there's another competing, and I use that term very loosely, casino down here where I'm at. Everybody knows it's Oaklawn Casino and Resort. That is blocking that proposal. That is blocking that 50-50 raffle. There's two sides to every story. 3, if you ask my mother. His side, the other side, and the truth.
And the truth, yeah.
We may never, ever, as the public, may never know about this proposal. We may never get to read the bill or the draft or the legislation or whatever. We're strictly going off, and I am not throwing this dude at Saracen under the bus. I'm not, but I'm playing devil's advocate at this point. We're going off the word of a marketing guy at Saracen. Keyword in that sentence, marketing. Marketing, which means what, boys?
He's out to make money for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
So let me counter with this, Zach.
Bring it.
There just happens to be this little law firm in Little Rock, largest one in the state. And one of their managing partners is he is lead counsel for Oaklawn Jockey Club, tied into Oaklawn and their income. One of his buddies that is also a managing partner just happens to be on the board of trustees at the University of Arkansas.
Really?
The plot thickens.
What
Well,
the hell?
And so I'll you two boys have given your piece. I'm going to chime in with this as well. This deal that's being proposed is not something that is exclusive to Saracen. Every casino in the state could set up their own 50-50 drawing. Saracen's not the only one that could do this. So the one we've mentioned can do it. The other one that is in
Southwind over there.
You've got
Yeah,
Southland. You've got 3 major ones in Arkansas. You got
the one
Southland
over
and
here
West
by me.
Memphis. You got Southland, which is the
Southland.
dog track.
I
You've got Saracen and
think of their
Palm
name.
Bluff, and you have Oaklawn, which is the horse racing down in Hot Springs. Now, here's the thing. I've asked a couple of people out in the general public who know about, who've been in the legislature, who knows how these things work and all this other stuff. One guy mentioned to me, and I won't name drop for specific reasons. It doesn't, he said, it's not a good look for a university to take money from a casino. But the counter argument is, if you listen to the Razorback broadcast, Saracen Casino, Saracen Casino, Saracen
Oaklawn's
Casino,
a sponsor as well.
Oaklawn, Saracen. So, I mean, they're going to get their money one way or the other. But if this benefits the university and it keeps the money in state, why in the hell are we arguing about it? Just do the damn thing.
I'll go a step further than this down the road of a bad look. What's a worse look for the university? Taking 6 figures weekly from a casino, or taking $100 a month from families in one of the poorest states in the country with the highest food insecurity of anybody in the nation. What's the worst look?
Here's the other thing, MC, that you got to think about. All right. The Razorback Foundation, right? I know. 2 different things. Okay. But if you're going to ask the fan base to give $100 a month, you have to take into consideration, where do you live, MC? General area.
Yeah. Northeast Arkansas. I'm a good 4.5 hours.
I'm in central Arkansas. I'm about 3 hours out. Okay. It takes gas to get up there. Gas ain't cheap. Gas about $2.50, $3 a gallon, depending on the week and whatever mood the federal government's in. Okay. It takes gas to get up there. If you're going to make a weekend of it, or if you have to stay overnight because of where you live, like you, which is in the other corner of the state. Okay. It takes
I'm
money.
closer than some people. I'm closer than people in El Dorado.
Exactly.
Or, Magnolia.
You have to think hotels mark up room rates a night.
And they have a 2-night minimum on
and
game
they have
weekends.
and game weekend, you have to have a 2-night minimum. That's no questions asked now. Okay. Number 2, if you're a member of the Razorback Foundation, they have tiers that you donate to. Okay. Now I know somebody specifically that donates $1,500 a month to $2,000 a month just to the foundation itself. That doesn't include tickets. And then you add the ticket prices on top of that, which is about $300 to $400 a seat. Okay. For the season. You're looking at almost $3,000 to $4,000 just to go to the game. And you're going to ask those same fans, hey, dish over another $100 because you're not giving enough to help our football team. You're not giving enough for our, back in the day, you're not giving enough for our basketball team. What are you smoking? And are you nuts? But you're going to ask the average fan that can barely make, and this is the only time I will ever defend a Little Rock game, that their one chance to see the Razorback football team is to travel to Little Rock to a piss poor stadium that you can't even have the bathrooms working.
Yeah.
But you want us to spend an extra $100 of our hard-earned money that we can barely get now?
Well,
but you don't want to do the 50-50 raffle of free 6-figure money.
Yeah. A week.
Sorry, I'm on my
week.
I'm on my soapbox, and I will get down now because Jesse's fixing to hit me with the talking stick.
Well, here's the thing on that. Saracen was smart in this situation because I'll just come out and say it. When I bet on the weekends on football, I bet every weekend. It's through the Saracen app. I want my money to stay in Arkansas. And Saracen has developed an app, and they are extremely successful at online sports betting. They said, hey, why don't we get ahead of the game on this? They have already poured in, no telling how much money to develop. They're ready to go. As soon as this new rule from the Gaming Commission gets signed, within a month and a half, they will have the 50-50 live. They've already got everything built and ready to go. Oaklawn's living in 2000 and can barely get online horse racing work right half the time. So that's part of it. Is Oaklawn failed. Saracen was smart enough to look forward and see a business potential. But I'll give you this, and this will be my last statement of the night. I can solve all of this right now, and I can tell you exactly how to solve all this.
Okay.
The whole reason this is an issue is because college universities started making millions and millions of dollars off of these athletes. It's time to set up a pay scale. It's time to pay these kids and put a pay scale just like the NFL, like you were talking about earlier, Zach. Set up a pay scale. This position this year, freshman quarterback makes $100,000, sophomore $250,000, whatever. But you set up a pay scale for position and year. You set that up. You pay for that out of these multi-billion-dollar TV deals. And then you let NIL be what NIL was meant to be. And if Taylon Green's market value is $500 million a year, if businesses are willing to pay him that because they think they're going to make it, well, then Taylon Green gets to make $500 million a year.
500,000.
Oh no, I'm going extreme. 500 million. No athlete is worth that. But
Right.
let the athlete determine their own value by their production on the field for their endorsement deals. Have a set pay scale and a salary cap for each university. Pay that from the university out of these TV deals, and everything's solved. There's your regulation you need for paying players. NIL becomes what it was meant to be, an endorsement deal, just like professional athletes have. The businesses set the price because they say, Zach, I think if we invest $100,000 a year in you to do these ads for us and make these appearances, we'll make $300,000 back. Everybody wins. Let the businesses set the price. Let the universities use these billions of dollars in TV deal monies to pay these players. The only problem is administrators have to shrink their office or take a pay cut. They can't make these exorbitant 7-figure salaries that they're making right now.
And they're not going to do that.
MC,
Unless they're forced. Yep.
you ever notice throughout this conversation how I'm not worth more than $100,000 according to Jesse?
I think you're a little higher up the pay scale than I am.
Oh, don't boost my ego like that. Come on now.
Hey, I want to piggyback a little bit off of Jesse's idea on how to do this, because I think you're going to see. I think where we're headed with this, and I teased this earlier, so here I'm coming back around to what I teased. Revenue sharing is going to happen in college football. 2025, revenue sharing is going to happen. I think that's where you start to get your regulations, because at that point you've got to set some guidelines. Otherwise, you will have some of these athletes trying to bleed the program dry of any and all TV money that they have coming in. I think you start to see when the revenue sharing kicks in. I think it's only a matter of time before all of these college athletes become deemed as employees. Then that's when you can really lock down on some regulations and put some guidelines around it. Because at that point, when they are considered employees, technically they'll be on the same status level that I'm on with my employer, because they will have, they'll have all the same similar benefits package. They'll have pretty much anything that goes in when you go in and you onboard as a new employee. That's what's going to happen. And I think revenue sharing is step one. I think step two is going to be deeming them as employees. And you've seen this with a couple of the lawsuits. You saw it with the Northwestern football against the NCAA. And then most recently, Dartmouth. Dartmouth won a lawsuit to where they can unionize as athletes and be considered employees of the university. Now, but it's not getting a lot of play because it's Dartmouth. But if it can happen there,
where's else? What
are you going to do when it happens at Georgia, or it happens at Alabama, or it happens at Arkansas,
or happens? I mean, if it happens at Alabama, watch for every domino to start falling.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if and I will say this because I'm damn near 40 and I'm going to say it, if these kids can unionize, that's opening up a whole nother can of
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, if they unionize, you get a players' union, just like the NFL has.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can regulate the agents.
Yep.
Then you can regulate the conditions that the athletic departments must maintain, the health care they must maintain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big union guy after working for a union for years. But when you're talking professional athletes, because these kids are professional athletes.
Yeah.
They may not be at the professional level yet, but they're more professional athlete than we'll ever be.
Yeah, 100%.
That's your gateway. You've got to take some bad with the good, and I'd much rather trade off having a players union for college athletes and having some regulation and some guidelines to protect not only these players but the universities than the Wild West that we have right now.
Yeah.
It's a much more sustainable option than where we are right now.
Yeah. And guys, we can, like I said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up because we could go into a double overtime if we're not careful with this because it's an ever evolving thing. Every day there's something new. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, do whatever you got to do to make sure you guys stay up to date with all of us here at Inside the Hawg Pen because this is an ongoing thing. There will be another podcast at some point down the road covering more of this NIL crap because this is just, unfortunately, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, we're just getting started with this. I mean, where it goes from here. Like I said, the Matthew Slucko, I hope I get his name right. I apologize if I don't. But the quarterback from UNLV, I'll go with that. That he is domino number one, and you saw a couple of other dominoes fall already with USC and Washington. And guys, we're going to continue to see this more and more. And I'm afraid where this is going to end up is that you are going to end up seeing maybe an entire offensive line or an entire wide receiver corps or all your running backs or somebody come up for a bowl game and say, we haven't been given our NIL money, so we're not playing in this bowl game.
I mean, think about it, MC. And like I said, this will be sort of my final thoughts. You have certain players that know their draft picks are high, already opting out of bowl games. Okay. Not at Arkansas because we can't seem to make anything better than the toilet bowl, but you have these players opting out of these bowl games already. Okay. What's going to stop them? And this is something to think on for a later date. What's going to stop these kids? Like you said, an entire offensive line, a starting quarterback, a running back, the wide receiver room, defensive backs, a kicker. If anybody knows a good kicker, I will pay their NIL deal. Of just saying, you know what? We're not getting what we promised. We're not going to play this game. Or point shaving a game, going out there and not giving their best effort, and throwing a game.
And to tie this in, this is my last thing I will say, and we can close this out. We've swung the pendulum too far. At the beginning, we were way over here where the players had no say, no control, whatever. We've gone 180 degrees the opposite direction to where the players basically they hold all the cards now. They have all the power.
Yep.
We've got to find something that's closer to the middle ground that is not extreme because we went from one extreme over to the other and neither benefits the game.
Guys, want to thank you once again for joining us for this Inside the Hawg Pen Overtime edition. Be sure to catch us on a regular night. Thursdays are our new nights. You can catch me, MC, and the beard behind the board, Jesse Thurman, breaking everything down on our weekly show, Inside the Hawg Pen. And of course, through football season, pre and post game, you got the Harris Made Chef Services pregame show, and about 15, starts about an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff. And then, of course, 30 minutes immediately following the conclusion of that week's game, you have the Allen Kerr Advisors 5th quarter post-game show. Make sure you follow us on our podcast channels anywhere you guys get podcasts. We are going to be here. Be looking forward to more episodes and more podcasts from us here at Inside the Hawg Pen. For Marcus MC Carlton and the beard Jesse Thurman and all of us here at Inside the Hawg Pen, I'm Razorback Zach. Good night, everybody.